Record's already going.
Oh, it is. Y'all already signed it up for me. Okay, that's good. So that's great having wonderful co-hosts to take care of those kind of things for me. So guys, I don't know how to start this day other than to say I'm just very proud to have our CEO and owner, Darren Zobrist, on our call today. To take someone who's in his caliber, travels all over the world, and to take Saturday morning out to get on a call for me, I really appreciate that. And guys, I don't really know if you can put it into words what I think is going on with our company. I'm just so excited about what I've seen. I've been in the, for those that don't know me, my name is Chris Doyle. I'm from Jackson, Tennessee. I've been involved in this industry 23 years. And I really want you to understand why I think we have something special. I was with a company, my first company was with a man who was a master network marketer, probably one of the greatest of all time, and great heart, loving person, but he wasn't a really good business person. He had a great, the company was well, but it wasn't set up to do what we needed it to do long term. And so I made sure that when I started with a different company, that company had what I call businessmen running it. Okay. And yet they didn't have the networking side. So when I think Partner Co is very special, is very simply this. We've got the best of the best. We've got a man whose business mind has proven himself over the years, and his partner, John Wadsworth, is someone who has also done exactly what I've done. Matter of fact, more years than me, way more successful than I've been, and I've done very well. And John is, so we've got really what I consider to be the best of the best. But today we're meeting with with Darren. Man, you can tell my morning's really still, I need my Rejuvenex to get my morning going. Coffee's not quite getting it done. But guys, when we got to Darren this morning, and I really asked him to come on, and I want him to really start from the beginning. And what I mean by that is I want him to talk about who he was before he found Partner Co. I want him to know his success and his background. So, Darren, are you able to join us? I know you're here, but I want to make sure that you're all right. We got good connection. I'm assuming you're in Puerto Rico. I don't know if you're home or not.
I am in Puerto Rico. I mean, it's a rare thing these days that I'm home in Puerto Rico, but yes, I'm
I
here.
was I was thinking that you might be. That was one of the reasons we scheduled this date. I thought if you were so busy. For those who don't know, we've been trying to schedule him for weeks, and so he's been literally. He was going to come out of a meeting in Spain to try to get on for us. I'm like, no, we just need to do this when you're back in Puerto Rico and everything is comfortable. We'll do this because we want people to really get the feel for you, Darren. And I met you 2.5, whatever, 3 years. It's hard. I really don't know exactly how long it's been now because it's been everything's been such
Two
a
and a half
whirl.
years, October 2022.
I remember when I was on the boat and they called you need to meet this guy because he bought your company. It's the best way to describe it. And I was literally on my boat trying to go through a lock on the river and like, do what? I said, he's on the call right now. So I got on the Zoom and met Darren, and I haven't looked back since. I've been so excited about what we're seeing happening. So Darren, I really wanted you to talk about first off, your family. I mean, you got a family like all the rest of us. I think sometimes we see these guys as so successful. We don't realize there's a side to them. It's like they live in the day-to-day world. So tell us a little bit about your background before you decide to get into Partner Co. What's your business background as well?
Okay, let's start with family. Today is Saturday. How many of you today are going to be running your kids around to do various things? Put a 1 in the chat if you are running your kids around today to do various things. Okay. I am daddy duty today. My wife is caring for her elderly mother in Mooresville, North Carolina, just outside of Charlotte. And I am at my son's tennis tournament right now. She was supposed to be here and she was taking care of this, but she had to go spend some time with her mom. So I am daddy duty today. When you think about, for me, like many of you, my life is in some respects very normal, just like yours. I have a wonderful family. I have 4 children, beautiful children. I have 1 grandchild, and they're the most important thing for me in my life, are my children. Well, first would be my faith and then my family. But so much of what I do revolves around them, even with my crazy travel schedule. Some of you, I'm not sure if you follow, but I have an Instagram account. It's just Darren Zobrist, super easy Instagram. You can see where I'm traveling all over the world. I left near the end of January from home, in the 3rd week of January, and I was gone for 67 days. Because I was going to be gone for so long, we actually took my son out of school, our 13-year-old son. He's our youngest. He's the only one we still have at home. and he came with us. We started off with Discover Partner Co meetings in Utah. I think some of you were actually there at those January meetings. And then we went to several cities in Japan, several cities in China. Then we were in Dubai, then Italy, France, Spain, Romania, home in Puerto Rico for a few days, our farm in Virginia for a few days for spring break, then Utah for Discover Partner Co meetings, executive meetings, and now here we are today. I think some of you were also in those Discover Partner Co meetings just a couple of weeks ago out in Utah. We had some just incredible events, but being able to take my wife and my son with me on those travels was just an absolute joy. They love this work that we do. My son, I think some of you have met my son. He's 13 now. He was 12 when we left on that trip, and somehow he turned 13 on the trip, and he became a full-on teenager on that trip. I talked about this a little bit in the Discover Partner Codes, but we're walking in the airport to go fly to Japan. He's holding our hands. He's got his arms around my wife and I. And by the time we come home from the trip, he turned 13. He is walking 5 feet behind us. 5 feet. Like, are you kidding me? I tried to hold his hand and he goes, I'm good, Dad. I mean, I'm good, Dad. I think some of you may have experienced this when they say, I'm good, Mom, I'm good, Dad. Anyway, he still is. We just had a blast traveling, going to events. Some of you have seen him at an event. He pays very close attention. He actually takes notes. At our PXP last year in Orlando, talk he loved most was Tim Sales was speaking about our industry, about kind of the opportunities and how it compares with other industries, other potential jobs, other potential side gigs. And my son literally has his notebook out and he is taking notes. And after Tim's done, he starts asking me questions. Well, what about this? Well, what about that? When can I start building my downline? Maybe I don't need to go to college. And these are the conversations we have in our household. So he's our youngest, still at home. We have daughters. Our next oldest children are 12 years older. So yes, we had a 12-year gap. And I have twin daughters that are just turned 25. One of them was married this past May, and her and her new husband, it's the most amazing thing. They moved to Puerto Rico also and live like 7 minutes away from us. I never thought any of my children would also move to Puerto Rico, but they moved to Puerto Rico and we see them almost every day. It's pretty amazing. Hold on. It's starting to rain. I have to move for a second. Sorry. 1 second. I'm getting wet.
I love these virtual backgrounds. It looks like you're in this nice office.
No, I know.
I
take that office with me wherever I go. Okay, I'm out of the rain. So yes, so I have the 25-year-old twins, and my daughter she's an entrepreneur also. And it's funny when I talk to her about it, she's like, well, Dad, what did you expect? Like, I mean, I've been watching you my whole life. Like, what did you expect me to do? So she started an online jewelry company and she is just crushing it. She mostly does diamond rings for engagement and wedding rings. And she's just crushing it. I just could not be more proud of her and what she's doing at the very young age of 25. And then we have our oldest son, Alex. I've spoken about him a little bit before. He's 27 now. We adopted him when he was 15 years old. He was in a very difficult kind of situation. And he's been a wonderful addition to our family now since that time. So those are my 4 kids, kind of a rowdy, mixed, interesting bunch, but we just love each other. We love to be together. We love to do things as a family. And now we love to do Partner Co things together as a family. So it's been a really neat addition to have that as something that we can do as a family. So let's see, background. Chris, how far back do you want me to go?
I want you to start when you started with Goldman Sachs. I want you to talk about your background there before you started your other company, the first
No
company,
problem.
big company.
Yep. Yep. Um, okay, I see some also people in the chat have twins as well. Twins are amazing. They have their own challenges, right? Their own unique aspect to having twins. They're the best of friends and the worst of friends, depending on the moment, but generally they're the best of friends, thankfully. Um, so I went to Wharton, if you don't know, for my master's in business. Wharton, if you don't know of it, it's like the number one business school in the country for finance. And so it was my dream to go to Wharton. It's so funny. You may love Trump, you may not love Trump, wherever you stand on that. But I read a book when I was in high school of Trump's called The Art of the Deal. Okay. High school kid. It was just sitting on my dad's bookshelf. He'd never read it. I read it. And he had gone to Wharton. And at that time, I started researching it and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like the very best MBA school in the world for finance. Someday I am going to go to Wharton. So I set my eyes on that, really in high school and ultimately was accepted. And it was my goal to go work on Wall Street. And the very best firm on Wall Street is Goldman Sachs. So I made it into Wharton, to Goldman Sachs. First of all, to get into Wharton, there were about 15,000 applicants for about 700 positions in my graduating class. Very, very competitive to get in. So when I gotten in, I'm like, this is an absolute dream come true. And then to work at Goldman Sachs, very, very exclusive, very hard to get a job there as well. You interview your first year and you get a summer internship. So when I was accepted for the summer internship, like, this is amazing. I'll probably get a job. What I didn't realize is that when you're in your summer internship at Goldman Sachs, every single person that interacts with you, they file a report on you. Okay, a report. So it's basically a summer-long interview. So I meet with the guys that are running the internship program halfway through the summer, and they pull out a notebook this thick on me. Every single person that has met with me has given feedback. I mean, yes, so much pressure, so much pressure. And ultimately, thankfully, it was mostly positive feedback. And I ultimately got a full-time position at Goldman Sachs, and I went to work on Wall Street and doing what I thought was living my dream. And at the time, it was. I was so happy. People at Goldman Sachs, they were so smart, so hardworking, just dedicated, focused on meeting the needs of their clients. And I was so proud to be at Goldman Sachs. One thing that has had a huge impact on me personally and on every company that I've been part of since then was the first probably 4 weeks or so. Every day we would have executives, top level executives from Goldman Sachs, come in and talk about the Goldman Sachs culture, the Goldman Sachs history. They had, just like we have our core values that we operate by, they had a set of business principles that they lived by, and you were judged according to living those business principles in your performance reviews. Goldman Sachs had been around for it was at that point over 100 years. And I could see why, because they had this core set of values, of business principles that they lived by. Then when new people came on, they really indoctrinated them, helped them understand the importance of these values and of this culture at Goldman Sachs. And that is when I would talk. I had some small luncheons, small group meetings with executives, and that is what they attributed being able to be a 100-year company for, was the business principles. Everybody knew how to behave. Everybody knew how to act. They knew what was expected of them. And then new people that joined, they made sure that they aligned with those business principles, with those values, and lived by them. And both, in doing your job and building your business, but also like in dealing with other people within the company. And your performance review was half of your performance review was how well you're living these business principles. So it had a deep impact on me and helped me really have a vision for what is needed to build a really long-term company. As time went on, though, I started to each year I'm like growing and progressing, and you progress really quickly on Wall Street. Like your earnings are going up maybe $100,000 a year. Like you are going up and up and up very quickly. And this interesting thing happened that each year that went by, as I'm making more and more money, I became less and less satisfied with the work that I was doing. And I mean, I was trying to figure this out. What's going on? Why is this happening to me? I sort of got to the point where every morning I'm dreading going into my job. And that's a terrible feeling to feel, like you're stuck, right? You're stuck. What am I going to do here? This was my dream. I'm here now, and I don't feel like it's my dream anymore. And then not only that, but because I was, making a lot of money by that point, you kind of expand your lifestyle to meet that. And yeah, it's a horrible feeling. How many of you have been in a job where you felt stuck? I think a lot of you, right? And you're wondering how you can get out of this, what you can do differently, what else is out there. Yeah, so many of you. I think almost all of us have. Almost all of us. So during that period of time was when I had transferred from New York out to Los Angeles, where I'm from. And I was literally taking a trip to Mexico to get my mind off of work and think about what could be next. And really, this is where I met this group of fishermen. And kind of think how much to get into my fisherman story, Chris. Do we have new people on? You want me to just do the whole thing?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's who you are.
It is. It has had such an impact on me and really does lead me to where we are today. But where I got off the boat where I was fishing, there was this group it was really just a small informal seafood market, and these fishermen were selling the most beautiful yellowfin tuna. And that's the tuna that we use for sushi in the United States. And they were selling it for like 50 cents a pound. And I remember scratching my head thinking, why is this fish 50 cents a pound when in LA it's like 20 bucks a pound? And I start talking to the fishermen, and they've heard of sushi, but they hadn't even really connected that that's sushi for tuna is their fish. But even if they had no way to access that, no way to prepare the fish to be sold for sushi. They had no access to those markets. And I start to think, maybe I can help these fishermen. Maybe this is what I'm supposed to do. I start to kind of feel some inspiration. I start to feel something in my heart, some feeling for these fishermen. And when I went back to LA, it's all I could think about was these fishermen. So I start working during my evenings, on my weekends. How can I help these fishermen? I ended up setting up a system really to help give these fishermen access to the global markets. We found a fish processing plant, small plant in this little fishing village in Mexico that had been shut down, and we were able to rent this plant and kind of get it up and operating right away. We hired these Japanese technicians to come in and come down to Mexico and train our fishermen how to properly kill the fish and bleed it so that it could be used for sushi. And then we started recruiting fishermen to work for us. We initially started with just One fisherman. I mean, like you can't, here at this point, I spent a lot of money on this and all the research and all the technicians and getting the plant set up, everything. I mean, I spent a lot of money. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we just have one fisherman. I'm going to lose everything here. I'm going to lose 100% of my investment. But I'm like, well, we're this far. Let's just go with this one fisherman. So he starts to fish. We are able to pay him about $2.50 a pound for his fish. There's a lot of expenses. By the time you actually lose 50% of the fish, by the time you cut it down into the loins, which are what are used for sushi. So 250, you have a lot of transportation costs, and then you have distributors in the US who have to make something. So anyway, but we were able to pay about $2.50, 5 times what he was selling it for before. And at the end of the month, this fisherman with just his earnings was able to go out and he bought this pickup truck. The fishermen in this little village in Mexico were living in these, it was like a cinder block, 1-room house with a metal roof, dirt floor, very, very humble circumstances. So for this guy to go buy a truck after 1 month was absolutely life-changing for him. I mean, he's immediately then started looking at, better housing. They had a small child. They started planning for when our baby starts going to school, maybe we can send our child to a better school. It was totally life-changing for this one fisherman. And of course, all of his friends who are fishermen, they see what's going on. They're wondering what he's doing. They think he's probably running drugs. And he's like, no, like I'm not. I'm working with these guys. They're sending my fish to the US. They're able to pay more because it's used for sushi. And he starts introducing us to all of his friends. And then they introduce us to their friends and their friends. And within about 3 months, we had the fishermen from the whole region fishing for us, about 1,000 fishermen. And every single one of them experienced this dramatic change to their life. They saw their earnings go up by 5 times. So not only did that change them and their lives and their family and their children's lives and their prospects for the future, it changed that little fishing village, because you can imagine what happens in this village when all of a sudden the main people that live in the village are making 5 times. It lifted the entire village. I remember I would go down, I was still at Goldman Sachs at this time. I would go down on the weekends. And this one weekend I went down there, all the fishermen had thrown this barbecue for me. The churrasco, they call it churrasco, big barbecue. And this one fisherman came up and was introducing me to his family. And he's holding a child here, and his wife has a little toddler that's walking that she's holding the hand of. And he starts talking to me about how their life has changed, and he's so thankful, and he's introducing me. And then it comes to the wife, and she starts just weeping. She never imagined that there would be anything more that she could think of or dream of in this life. And she starts just talking about how they can have a better future for their children, and just what a change that this has brought. And she's just so thankful, so thankful. And I remember them walking away, and I just said to myself, I said, I want to do this every day for the rest of my life. Every day, I want to wake up and this is what I want to do. And that's when I made the decision. I'm going to leave Goldman Sachs. I'm going to focus on this full time. And that's what I did. I left, we expanded to, and full time in the seafood company, we expanded to other towns, other villages around Mexico, fit in developing countries all over the world. the fishermen, they all have very humble circumstances. They're like the lowest of the low. And so we started looking at other countries that would have a similar situation where they were catching tuna, developing country, fishing villages, very humble circumstances. And so we expanded from Mexico to Brazil. I lived in Brazil for 3 years, running that expansion. We expanded to Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Ecuador, Costa Rica, Cook Islands, Marshall Islands, Fiji, like all over the world, 13 different countries. And in every one of those villages, every one of those fishermen, they experienced this dramatic change in their life. Tens of thousands of fishermen, tens of thousands. And every day I woke up just loving my life, loving my work, loving being able to help people all over the world. And yeah, up till that point, it was 100% the most meaningful thing that I'd done. So fast forward a few years, Bumblebee, the canned tuna company, they wanted to get into sushi grade tuna. They end up acquiring my company. And as part of my contract with them, as part of the deal, they agreed to continue. So we did a ton of humanitarian work all around the world in all these villages, building schools and water treatment and lots of things. We supported a chain of orphanages, a bunch of things. They agreed to continue all of that. And here, this is 10 years later, and they still are supporting all of those efforts that I had started. So I'm very proud of them for continuing with that. But I then worked for about 3 years in a transition with Bumblebee, at which time I moved to Puerto Rico and I thought I was retired. If you ask my wife, she will say I was not retired. I was retired. But that meant that, maybe I worked 30 or 40 hours a week instead of like 100. But we have a disagreement on this, but I'm going with I was retired because I became the pastor of our church congregation in Puerto Rico. I did tons of work in the community and with our church community. And so it was an amazing retired life. Amazing. And my wife and I, we had a lot of time to be together. We were walking on the beach every morning. We were going to lunch a few days a week. We had time to travel and go see our friends. And I think many of you know this, but the first person that I met in Puerto Rico, literally the first person, I go to check out the local church, English-speaking church down here, and the first person I meet is John Wadsworth, my partner now. And he says, "Hey, you're thinking about moving here? Come over, have lunch with us. I'll show you around the neighborhood." I end up moving into the same neighborhood. John ends up being my kind of first assistant pastor at the church. And we spend the next 5 years becoming best friends. Our families were best friends. We go on vacations together. I mean, John and I, we had some earthquakes. We've had hurricanes. John and I can't tell you, we've driven like all over, more miles than you can imagine, all over Puerto Rico, delivering supplies and checking on people. And there's, if you're friends with somebody and you become friends, hanging out, doing fun things together, that can be a great relationship. If you become best friends with somebody, serving people and helping people through their most difficult challenges in life, that is a different level of friendship. And that is the kind of friendship that John and I had. So this one Sunday night, John gives me a call and talks about the opportunity that we have. Basically, John had been 25 years selling the top distributor for Tahitian noni juice. Tahitian noni juice and a bunch of other companies were acquired by another company, and that company was running into some financial difficulties. And John calls me and he's very, very worried about what may happen to all of his people that he's brought into this business, all of the thousands and thousands of people who rely on this business, this company, to feed their families, to take care of their lives. And he's so upset. John is not an emotional person. He is emotional at this point. And I hate to see my best friend suffering. And so I literally just say, John, calm down. Like, it's going to be okay. Let's just buy the company. And of course he says, wait, what? And I say, we're just going to buy the company. I know how to buy companies, bought lots of other companies. That's what we're going to do. And he's like, I had already known that it was all of the subsidiary companies, the network marketing companies that this parent company had purchased were amazing companies, profitable, but the problem was at the parent company level with the management up there at the parent company. And so 5 days later, we put in an offer to buy the company. And initially, my role was just going to be providing the funding, financing the acquisition. And John says, Darren, if you're going to fund this acquisition, you got to at least learn what it's all about. And you got to come to this event. We're having an event in Barcelona, Spain. Come to the event and really understand what you're buying here. So we do. We go to Barcelona, and like so many of you who have been to your event, you can remember your first event. Think about your first event. Think about the first time you go and you start hearing people talking about how the work that we do is changing lives, how the work that we do changes people's health, how the work that we do gives people a financial opportunity that they wouldn't otherwise have. It helps them feel part of a community. It gives them time flexibility to be with their family. I remember meeting a lady who, she'd been a hairdresser and she was making about $20,000 a year, and which is fine. It wasn't very much money, but it was fine. But the biggest problem is that she had to work when her kids were home from school. So she was working in the afternoon and evenings and on the weekends. And she's like, I have the worst quality of life. So somebody introduced us to our products. She started taking the products. She had some health challenges that products really helped her with. She then, after about 3 months, they mentioned that she could sell these products. So she started selling the products, introducing them to her clients in the salon. And about 2 to 3 months after that, she was making about the same amount of money in working with the health products as she was in her salon business. And so she left full time to work on that. And now she makes, 10 times, 20 times, I don't know, so much more money. And when she was speaking, I start to listen and I'm like, oh, I'm not just investing in a company that this is going to be an investment for me. This is changing lives. This is fishermen. This is helping people. And each person gets up on the stage, they speak and talk about their story, and I get more and more inspired. And at the end of the weekend, I just lean over to John and I'm like, hey, I don't want to just be an investor anymore. I want to be the CEO. I want to come in. I want to run this company. I want to help as many people as we possibly can around the world. I've got the skills that this company needs. we at that time we were in 50 something countries. Like, I've got it. I know how to do this. And so that's what happened. And that's really how Partner Co. was born. Chris,
Yeah,
do
I
anything
love it.
else?
I mean, I'm not helping you along, I know, but I mean, that was what I wanted to hear is your heart. I could see, am I wrong, or did you tear up a little bit talking about those fishermen because of the story with the lady? I believe I saw a little tear in the eye.
It's, I mean, here I've told that story. I can't tell you when it's going to happen to me, but sometimes when I think about that, I still get emotional thinking about that time because it was had such an impact on me. Um, and yeah, I've told that story hundreds of times now. For some reason, I still sometimes it affects me.
I think it's great because it shows your heart, and that's what I want. I'm really glad that came out. And I think a lot of people in our industry, we know there's been so much turmoil, and we are all dealing with people probably on this call dealt with another company leaving. We're seeing that, and it's pretty common because I believe that companies aren't run correctly. Why don't you talk a little bit about your focus on what you want the future of Partner Co? Where are we at? I know, I mean, I've had companies always tell me what I want to say one thing about what you did to me that first times I met you. Unlike other ownership I'd met in this industry, they all told me what they were going to do. They were talking, they were pie in the sky, and that wasn't you. You were just so much more down to earth about the way things worked and the things are. And I really felt different about the way you approach things. You weren't that glitter guy. You're just the facts and about where we are. But you're a business guy, and that's what you really is your background is you ran major companies. And people don't realize that was a huge company you sold out. We don't really talk about it, but it was a multi-billion-dollar company you sold. Why don't you talk about what your plans are for Partner Co? Because I've never heard anybody say they had a 100-year plan or a 50-year plan like you got. It's like I want you to talk about what you see and where we're headed.
So when John and I were launching Partner Co, we had, I mean, our number one goal was building a very long-term company. I had this experience with Goldman Sachs, 100-year company. I knew what it takes to build a 100-year company. John just knew this was important for us because here he was 25 years with the same company. So every year he built on the success of the prior year and he grew and grew. He never had to go start over again someplace else. He knew that he could rely on the company to be there to support him and provide the tools and the products that he needed to grow a really great business. So you have both of us coming together with this really long-term view. And it's funny, we initially were starting with a kind of a 50-year plan. And with that, I think hopefully most of you have seen our core values. That was after we started with this kind of okay, long-term plan, 50-year company, we started talking about what's that going to take. And I saw the importance of business principles, core values to building a really long-term company. So that was literally the next thing we did was we made our set of core values, things that were important to us and things that we knew would help carry us forward as a company for a really long time. We also, many of the core values, the true partnership being one of them. I mean, true partnership, I've always treated when I was in the fishing company, every one of those fishermen, they were my partners, right? I wanted to take care of them. I wanted to make sure that the company was successful, but they were successful also. Every company that I sold to were partners. Every employee I felt like were partners. This concept of true partnership, I feel like if we all act like we're partners, everyone wins. And so that became our number one value. That became the name of our company. That's how core it is to who we are, is us being partners with every one of you. That became our number one value. And then, of course, our last value is always built to last. We're building a company for 50 years, 100 years. It is funny that last year we were going through, I mean, the company had tremendous growth really from the moment we launched Partner Co. It started and we bought the company in October 17th, 2022 is when it closed. We launched Partner Co. in February 2023. 2023 saw tremendous growth. 2024, even more growth. And we were in one of the PXP events last year, and John leans over and he just says, Darren, 50 years is not enough. We got to start working on our 100-year plan. You see what's going on right here, right now? We need to start working on our 100-year plan. So that's what we started to do. So we are working on not just our 50-year plan, 100-year plan. And what it takes, though, is John and I, we're very different. He's been doing exactly what every one of you have been doing. He knows what it takes to go out and build a team. He knows what it takes to train new people. He knows what it takes to figure out how to have duplication on your team and be most successful. You bring in customers, all of that. He's done it better than almost any. So every decision that we make, he's coming from that view. How does this help our brand partners? And then I'm always looking at the company. Company has to be successful. I know you have to be successful too, but literally the company has to be successful. If we're not successful, we don't have the money to invest in new products, marketing, all the tools you need to support you. So the company must be successful also. So I'm always worried about the company being successful. And if you're going to build a long-term company, the company has to have continued success during all that period of time if it's going to survive. So we have just a unique partnership where we bring different skill sets, different talents, and a different viewpoint to every major decision that we make. There's nobody out there in our industry that has this kind of a partnership, and it's a huge advantage for us. It really helps us stand apart from any of our competitors that are out there, and will be a reason why we're around in 100 years because of this foundation that we're building. We also know that it requires a team. It's not like John and I can do this on our own. So you will see at our executive level, we go out and hire the very, very best that we can find, whether it's in this industry or outside of this industry. We find the very best because we know that having the best executives is another foundational principle that will make sure that we build the right kind of company for the long term. And we also find executives that match our core values, that believe in our core values, that want the same things that we do, because then we know that they are helping us to build really for the long term. Does that answer your question, Chris?
Absolutely. I'm just absorbing and writing notes myself. So yes, absolutely.
I'm looking at it. I feel like I've been rambling for so long here. It's been a
You're not rambling at all.
long time.
No, you did exactly what I wanted today. I wanted people to see your heart and your vision. And I mean, that's sometimes we just don't ever get to understand the ownership. And really, people, big corporate executives, a lot of times they seem untouchable. And I just know you from when I met you from 2.5 years ago, and everything that I've seen is everything you are. You don't try to sugarcoat it. You're who you are. And I just know your personality now is one of those. It's, what's more important, your family and your faith. They're the most two important things to you, but yet you're building a company that helps people. And I think that's what you already did. I mean, you did that in the fishing business. That's the part that you always thought you didn't know anything about our industry, but in actuality, I've always believed that you did. That's what you did, because you said I started with one fisherman. And how many fishermen did you have at the end when that completed?
I mean, I never did an exact count, but there were tens of thousands, 70,000, 80,000 fishermen. I mean, because these were small scale fishermen. They were like two guys in a 20-foot long boat going out hand line catching tuna, right? We focused very much on sustainable catching methods, and was the most sustainable catching method. So the bulk of the fishermen were like that, just small scale artisanal fishermen.
But you changed a lot of lives.
Yeah, we did. So many.
And I think that's what you saw in network marketing. I think that's what partnership's whole goal is, guys. This industry is not the easiest thing in the world, let's face it. But if you really understand the concept and understand what we do, got to have a company with great products, which we all know, then you got to have the leadership. And I think a company reflects that leadership. I really believe as a company grows, it has so much to do with, like you said, our core values and what we reach for. So
it does. And one other thing, I don't know if some of you have heard us. We've been talking about it a little bit in some other meetings, but we finally finalized our mission statement, Partner Coast mission statement. Have you talked about it, Chris, or have you guys seen it yet?
I haven't seen it.
Okay. Our mission statement, we had a couple of weeks ago, we had a big offsite with all of our executives, and really it took us a couple of years of understanding exactly what we were doing. I didn't want some mission statement that we'd write and everybody just puts on the shelf and we never think about it ever again. We wanted something that really identifies who we are. So the Partner Co mission is to power health and prosperity around the world. To power health and prosperity around the world. It's something everybody can learn, everybody can memorize, everybody can feel it, use it in your meetings. And we always start with health, right? Our products are so important to us. A healthy lifestyle is important to us. So we always start with that. And also, without your health, it doesn't matter how much money you have. It just doesn't matter. Your health is your very best investment. And then prosperity, to prosper. What does it mean to prosper? It means something different to everybody. I mean, sometimes it can be financial gain, but prospering can be doing well in your relationships, helping other people. It can be doing well with additional educational goals. It can be helping your children. Like, prospering can mean a different thing to every one of you. So what we are doing is helping you achieve your dreams, whatever prospering means to you. And we love our mission statement. We feel like it perfectly identifies who we are and what we're trying to do. And you will start to see more of this. We only launched it 2 weeks ago, so we've had a few small groups where we've talked about it, but I'm so glad to be able to share this with you today, this mission statement.
Love it. Well, I love that mission statement. I actually had heard it. I didn't realize it was classified as the mission statement. I've already heard people quoting that. So absolutely, I love it. Darren, I know you need to get back to your son's tennis.
Yes.
And so, I mean, you're sitting out in the rain, even though we can't see it, because you look like you're in this really comfortable office and you're sitting in the rain and trying to watch your son. So I hope people realize how much sacrifice it takes for someone like him to just get on a call. He's traveling around all over the world, and yet here he is with his son, and he's willing to get on a call. Darren, thank you so much for being on this morning. As we're going to end the recording, if who's doing the recording, probably if Sarah's doing that, and stop the recording. Darren, thanks for being with us. I'm going to close.
Thank you all. It's so great. Yeah, so great to see you. We'll look forward to seeing you soon at other events. And remember, so we've got some other Connect events happening in the US, and then looking forward to PXP. You should all now be laser focused on your goals. What do you want to achieve between now and PXP? What title do you want to hit? Where do you want to be? And be running for that. So by the time PXP rolls around, you are achieving your goals. So we look forward to seeing you at some of these other events and eventually PXP in the fall.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
PXP is a life changer. Be there. Thank you again, Darren, for being there. Guys,
thanks everybody.
If you love what you saw, please put a heart in the chat. I think we all love him being on with us, Darren. I know that I appreciate your heart. Thank you for taking care of his company and putting us in a position to do something really special.